Samuel Montembeault and the Habs come out on top against the top team in the Eastern Conference with a stellar 46-save performance. The Habs have 3 goals. Slafkovsky makes some of the best plays you'll ever see. Plus, we also got to talk about a Habs prospect that you may or may not have heard of that has been shocking everyone in his last few games. So stick around for all of that on this episode of Habs Digest. Jesse, before we get into that wonderful game, and if you guys want or are just interested in the game, jump ahead, but I recommend you stick around because we're about to talk about a Finnish Habs prospect. We've mentioned him maybe a couple times on the channel, but if you're not deep into the Habs, news media stuff, you might not have heard too much about him, and that's Oliver Kapanen. And as Electrical Sky posted on Reddit, he said in Kapanen's first game back from the Spengler Cup tournament, he had a 4-point night in the Liiga, 2 goals, 2 assists, 14 points in 26 games, but that's not it. In the game after that, he had another 2 points to bring his total up to 16 points in 27 games with 6 points in his last 2. Jesse, Oliver Kapanen, he's a fairly skilled guy. We knew what we were getting in the 2021 draft. And after last season, 27 points in 55 games, really started flying under a lot of Habs fans' radars. Of course, he was the last pick in the second round, but recently, especially just after coming back from the Spengler Cup, I know it's a small sample size, but he has been playing out of his mind. And I mean, I always find it nice to just see how much depth the Habs have in their prospect pool, because even guys like this putting up this kind of stuff in the Liiga, it's really, really impressive.
Another one for sure. And it is impressive because it's hard to put up those type of numbers and, really a men's league like that. But what also makes it so notable as well is that this guy's known more as kind of like a defensive sort of centerman. So when you can know that you're providing a really solid defensive game, but then being able to put up the points at the same time, I mean, it just obviously shapes up great for being an all-around player. So we're so lucky right now as Habs fans that we're having a lot of prospects that, for whatever reason, are doing their work on their end of what they need to do to kind of progress their NHL career. So we definitely can't take that for granted. We're definitely going to keep celebrating those victories.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me wonder what Laval's going to look like in due time, right? I don't know if he's going to end up coming over again. He's only 20 years old. It just feels like Laval is going to turn into that farm system that not only the Habs have wanted for ages, but basically every NHL team has wanted for ages. So yeah, if you haven't been paying too much attention to Oliver Kapanen, go take a look, watch some of his highlights, because he has been putting on a show. But Jesse, it's time to get into the game. We want to just take a quick moment to mention him, but oh my goodness. Look, the Habs got out to a 3-0 lead, and I just had a feeling that this game wasn't going to end in some kind of Habs blowout, because it never seems to be able to. But regardless, the Habs went toe-to-toe against the first-place team in the Eastern Conference. Now they have, I think, the same amount of points as the Bruins. But as always, feel free to pause, take a look at the score sheet. And there's some stuff that doesn't show up on the score sheet. Of course, it's awesome seeing Gallagher getting a snipe, which is not something he usually does. It was a snipe top shelf. Yoel Armia with another great goal, and Sean Monahan getting a little bit of an interesting bounce on a puck that he shot on Jonathan Quick. But the big story here, Jesse, was Samuel Montembeault. He had 46 saves, 939 save percentage. He stood on his head, but not only that, in the shootout, you got to go watch this clip. I don't have the full clip for you here, but this Mika Zibanejad does the little one-handed tuck, but Montembeault reaches back with the heel of his stick and pulls it out of the crease. Maybe the best game definitely the best game we've seen from Montembeault this year. And to me, I think this might even start to solidify Montembeault's all-star case, because the East is running low on goalies, and I think some fans might want him in there.
That was an all-star type of save. Come on, how unreal was that save on Mika Zibanejad pulling the Forsberg? He thinks he's got him beat. It's kind of that slick move. He's laughing to himself. Ha ha ha. They're tucking in. What a save from Montembeault to deny him. To really cap off what was an amazing performance. The Rangers had 49 shots in regulation. This was actually their most shots on the Montreal Canadiens in their history. 2 original 6 teams. Samuel Montembeault stood on his head tonight. He made key save after key save, battling, composure. None so much, I think, kind of identified, kind of showed that fighting spirit at the end of that game when, again, making that big save, with as the clock is running out, makes one big save, then another one. Zibanejad's involved in that play, and he's really challenging that shot. He's coming out to it to play. That's the type of spirit that you want to see from Montembeault. Never giving up on these games, being solid, just being so consistent. I was blown away. He literally saved the game with that amazing stop there at the end. And I am just so impressed with him.
Time and time again, it just felt like the Rangers were almost having their way with Montreal in their own zone just for Monty to stand tall. And the only shots that beat him were either heavily screened or tipped. Nothing really beat him clean. There was, well, I guess there was one that semi beat him clean. It was a play off the faceoff, and then Panarin almost does like a one-timer off a purposeful forward pass from the faceoff. It was a weird set play, and it still barely squeaked through. The others were tipped and screened. He just was phenomenal. It felt like if you had a clear shot on him, it wasn't beating him. And like you said, that save at the end of overtime when Juraj Slafkovsky, by the way, we're transitioned a bit to him. He was only on for the last like 15 seconds of overtime. He didn't play the rest of the period. When he goes in there, he forces a turnover behind the opponent's net and draws a penalty with 11 seconds left. Why wasn't he playing more? I don't know. But regardless, on that power play, Mike Matheson turns it over at the line. And like you said, Jesse Zibanejad comes down. He stopped it. I forget who followed up, but he stopped by Monty. Just an amazing game. But we also got to talk about Slav, and I know he didn't show up on the score sheet, but as you guys know, we are basically Slafkovsky fanboys, but also I think it's well deserved. This guy has been such an impact player for Montreal, and he's done some amazing things. We got some things to show you, because before the game, while in practice, Marty had Slafkovsky working on some one-timers, and, well, guess what? Matheson didn't give him any chances, because Slav was there on the power play, but that doesn't really matter because Slav was doing things in other ways. There was a play in this game where he had a break. He jumped over a defender in for a little partial breakaway. He had this stick lifted a bit and the puck just trickled wide, but it was an elite move. And I got a video to show you guys. Just keep an eye on Slafkovsky here. Look at this puck stick behind his back fully as he passes across. We're going to play that one more time. You just go, oh, yep, stick behind my back. Okay, yeah, no problem. Tape to tape. Yeah, that's me. I'm Juraj Slafkovsky. He is just showing, like, every game, flashes of stuff we've never seen, Jesse. Yeah, he got knocked off balance a couple times, but the skilled plays are just coming in bunches now, more and more and more. It feels like, again, every game he's doing something we haven't seen him do. And again, that top line, despite not scoring, had some amazing chances, some posts. It was just phenomenal.
Showing so many flashes of brilliant plays, showing those good hands we want to see, like those nice deeks that kind of get in close. He's now doing those one-timers, as you see, like not only in practice, but we saw tonight into game, he's putting that into practice. And you have to feel like Martin St. Louis is really happy because he's getting robbed. If it's not from a beautiful glove hand save from Jonathan Quick, like Juraj Slafkovsky's on the board with a goal. But again, the same recipe we're seeing all the time to kind of finish out, even in overtime, was he's just getting in and then he's just creating turnovers right away. And expect to see Juraj Slafkovsky out in overtime a lot more. Obviously, he just gets out there right for the end, right away, starts to have an impact. You know, so you have to feel like we're seeing obviously a lot of Suzuki and Caufield there together with Matheson, but you have to feel like you have to start mixing it up at a certain point, getting Suzuki with Slafkovsky as well out there, right? You know, so I feel like we're going to see that a little bit more. He's definitely paying his dues because he's an impact guy. Like, I feel like overtime is very well suited to his type of game.
Yeah, he's a fast player. He's a physical guy. He can force turnovers. Now, maybe Marty's a bit like still, Slav, maybe your decision making, whatever, because as we all know, turnovers in overtime can be so costly, but who knows? Who knows the reason for it? But at least he did get a shot and got to prove, hey, I'm an impact guy. The only other thing I really wanted to mention, well, in the shootout, Ullinen had one of the sickest moves I've ever seen. He just missed the net. It was really a shame, but luckily Monty made the save. By the way, Monty, like after that game, that was the most emotional I think I've ever seen him after a win. He was so pumped. He deserves all the snacks in the world after that game. Another thing too, but Jesse, like we talk about this time and time again, the Habs have played up to their opponent's level so many times this year. You know, coming off a brutal 6-1 loss to Buffalo at home, Montreal comes in against the Rangers, again, tied for the top spot in the Eastern Conference, one of the best teams in the NHL, and they come in and just go out to a big 3-0 lead. Yes, they let it go to overtime, but they still came out with the win in the end. And even with all that, Jesse, even with New York outshooting Montreal by almost 20 shots, or maybe even more than 20 shots, the Habs still probably had more golden opportunities. There was a crossbar by Matheson, a one-time from Suzuki that got saved by Quick. They robbed Slafkovsky. We had 2 other posts from Jake Evans off the inside of the post. It was just constant posts or robs from Jonathan Quick. It just felt like, again, the Habs are capable of really playing like an elite caliber team, and that's something I don't think we expected coming into this year.
It's true. We've seen this time and time again where they really play up to the level of their competition. You know, we've seen them beat the Winnipeg Jets, who are at the top of the NHL right now, not very long ago, right? And I might chalk that up to there being like a lot of parity in the NHL. These teams are actually a lot closer than what it seems. It's really showing like, but what does it take? Like, what has Montreal done to kind of be successful And that's, not only the skill, which they don't have, but I think they're kind of complementing a lot of that with that determination of will. Because to win in the NHL, not only do you need to have skill, but you need to have that determination to really battle all the way through. And even though the skill isn't all the way there, we're kind of a developing team. We're waiting for some players to come with their own injuries, what have you, is we're really compensating, I think, with that determination. But I think a lot goes to Martin St. Louis with this team being so injured that a lot of these good systems in place right now are really allowing for this team to be successful. Of course, it's not linear all the time, but what we're starting to see now is a fairly consistent effort. We know what to see from them. They're very often in the game, if we're really paying attention to what's going on. So I think there's a lot of things to really chalk up to that right now. And I think it's just getting that experience again, right? Of, we've seen it a couple times where they get that lead and then as a young team, they're not quite sure how to finish it. But that's just something, again, where you just need to get the reps. There's no way of getting around it. They just need to get more of those situations of having those leads. Tonight was a good experience again, even though they may not have handled the best. They still came out with the W of, okay, once we get this 3-goal lead, how are we going to really finish this game to just stamp on it and have an authoritative finish on it like they maybe possibly could have had? Just a little bit more experience kind of doing that, and we'll definitely get there. So, I mean, some really encouraging and amazing signs tonight.
Yeah, it feels like there's so many, like, very few games this year have we felt like there is nothing to take out of this game. And maybe that Buffalo game was one of them, and we didn't have a chance to make a video, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's all right. But at the same time, you're very right, Jesse. Like, in a game like this, when you're up by so much, it's kind of a good feeling too to just know that you have Monty back there to save the day. It's been a number of years since we've felt that way about a Habs goalie, and it's kind of nice to see this is coming true. So I'm still pushing for Monty to be an All-Star. So many good signs from this Habs team, but yeah, there'll be a lot more to come in the coming weeks as we head up to the trade deadline. A couple days break before the next game, so we'll have lots of news in the meantime. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe. We hit 10,000. I mean, subscribe if you want. We'll go for 25 next, I suppose. It's a big goal. It's a long ways away, but I know you guys can help us out. I'm Josh Goss, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.